Late last night, Trump was back on Twitter after being back in the White House, and he decided to tweet out a few things that really shook up the markets and the stimulus debates. Here's what he said. Nancy Pelosi is asking for $2.4 trillion to bail out poorly run, high-crime Democratic states, money that is in no way related to the illness. We made a very generous offer of $1.6 trillion, and as usual, she is not negotiating in good faith. I am rejecting their request and looking to the future of our country. I have instructed my representatives to stop negotiating until after the election, when, immediately after I win, we will pass a major stimulus bill that focuses on hardworking Americans and small business. Now I'm going to pause it right there because that's important. If you recall, Nancy Pelosi on the Democratic side of the aisle and Steve Mnuchin negotiating on behalf of the Republican-controlled White House were inching closer and closer to getting a deal done. The House of Representatives passed a $3 trillion bill called the HEROES Act. Then they passed another bill that was $2.2 trillion. The Republicans passed a $500 million bill, and then they were willing to go to $1.6 trillion. That was the latest offer by Steve Mnuchin, and it seemed they were getting closer and closer together. They even agreed on a lot of major points, such as stimulus checks. Another round of the $1,200 stimulus checks that we had in the CARES Act would go out again. They would extend unemployment insurance benefits. The exact amount was up for debate. It was $400 versus $600, and they even agreed to certain measures having to do with additional aid for businesses, additional aid for testing, additional aid for schools, and state and local governments. It really was just a debate about how much they were going to spend. 1.6 or 2.2, they were probably going to meet somewhere in the middle and get a bill done. So for Trump to call off the stimulus with a tweet took everybody by surprise. Now I'm going to go on and read a little bit more of Trump's tweet here. It's really important. He says that the reason why they're stopping the negotiations of the stimulus bill is because he wants to prioritize the passing of Amy Coney Barrett as the next Supreme Court justice. Remember, she is going to be up for a vote here soon, and he wants Mitch McConnell to solely focus his attention on getting Amy Coney Barrett passed as an additional Supreme Court justice on the court, because again, that would radically change the Supreme Court makeup. It would be 6 Republican appointees versus 3 Democratic appointees, forever changing the balance of the Supreme Court. Trump says, I've asked Mitch McConnell not to delay, but instead focus full-time on approving my outstanding nominee to the United States Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett. Our economy is doing very well. The stock market is at record levels. Jobs and unemployment are coming back in record numbers. We are leading the world in economic recovery. The best is yet to come. Now that's really important because the last part of his tweet, that part about jobs and the economy doing so much better, that's really what freaked out Wall Street yesterday, because they said, look, Trump could have been bluffing, but the fact that he added that at the end of his tweet really underscored the fact that he thinks the economy is doing a lot better than it probably really is. We've had Fed Chair Jerome Powell and many other Fed governors come out and say, we need more stimulus. You really can't overdo the stimulus that we need in the economy right now. We need a lot more passed through Congress. We need more direct stimulus to Americans. We need more direct aid to businesses. You can't really overdo it. For Trump to say, we don't need that at all, that's really what freaked out Wall Street, because they said, look, we need another stimulus, and we need another stimulus right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Furthermore, Trump says, look, I will pass a stimulus, but after I win the election, which I know a lot of you out there probably support Trump, a lot of you probably don't, but this isn't a political thing. This is just mathematical. If you look at all the polls right now, the likelihood of Trump winning re-election is getting lower and lower by the day. Now, again, those polls were wrong in 2016. They could be wrong again now. But the simple fact of the matter is Wall Street and bettors don't exactly think the polls are wrong right now. The gap is just too wide at this exact moment. Things could change before the election, but Trump's re-election hopes look lower and lower. So what does that mean? Trump won't pass the stimulus bill now. He won't pass the stimulus bill, obviously, after he's not re-elected, if he's not re-elected, which means that a new Congress, a new president won't come into power until January. That's many months from now, and this is a winter that we're going into, the time where upticks in the virus might, get higher and higher, and therefore decrease the economic activity that's going on. This is a real fear right now. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to give a like to this video. So if that wasn't confusing enough, and if that didn't take you by surprise enough, because it seemed like we were gonna have another stimulus bill for weeks now, Trump actually reversed course later on in the night and said the following: "If I am sent a standalone bill for stimulus checks, $1,200, then they will go out to our great people immediately. I'm ready to sign them right now. Are you listening, Nancy?" So that's about as direct support of a stimulus check as you could possibly make. He says, send me the direct bill that just authorizes stimulus checks, nothing else, and I'm going to sign it right now. Now, it doesn't seem likely that that bill will actually get to him, just a standalone bill for stimulus checks, because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to give Trump a win before the election, and she doesn't want to lose leverage in negotiating her priorities in her bigger bill. So that's kind of the big disconnect. It seemed better to actually pass these things piecemeal. You definitely could pass airline aid piecemeal, which they tried to do last week, and you could do a few other things, but it doesn't look like stimulus checks is going to be one of those matters. Speaking of airline support and other matters, Trump went on to tweet again, the House and Senate should immediately approve $25 billion for airline payroll support and $135 billion for Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses. Both of these will be fully paid for with the unused funds from the CARES Act. Have this money, I will sign now. So these two tweets followed earlier in the day when he said he was stopping negotiations on the stimulus, and that doesn't really seem like a stopping of negotiations. It seems like a demand, which all negotiations are. I demand one thing, you demand another. And because he's demanding stimulus checks, additional money for airlines, and payroll protection money, that seems like an offer, something that the Republicans offered a few weeks ago. And now it doesn't seem like the stimulus bill negotiations will actually stop. So Trump tweeted that earlier in the day. He tweeted that the stimulus bill negotiations were to stop. That was around 2 p.m. Eastern. The stock market fell off a cliff. And then in after hours trading, and now this morning, they read these following tweets and said, oh, you know what, it's just Trump doing his thing on Twitter, as always, saying a few things and maybe trying to use this as negotiations, saying we're stopping negotiations. It's really up for debate, but it doesn't look like the stimulus bill negotiations are quite done right now. So any video to the contrary that you may be seeing, I think is probably incorrect. I think that we're still going to have these negotiations. I'm still highly confident that another stimulus bill will be passed in the coming months. I don't know if it'll be before the election, but it certainly seems that all sides will agree that we need another stimulus bill. And here's an interesting statistic for you. According to 66% of survey respondents, they tended to agree with the statement, the economy is struggling and we need more financial relief from Washington, versus 34% of people which said the economy is doing just fine, we don't need any more stimulus from Washington. So it looks like the Democrats, a lot of Republicans, the American public, the Fed governors, they all agree that we need another round of stimulus. So it seems obvious that we're going to get it. It's just a matter of when. But I'm curious, are you one of the 66% or 34% of people? Do you think we need more stimulus? Let me know in the comments below. Now, there's still a ton to get to. We still have many weeks until the election actually occurs. We have 2 more debates. We have a vice presidential debate tonight. We have many things still on the docket that could shift the power, shift the dynamics, shift the ability for the two sides to actually come to an agreement together on stimulus. But I'm confident we'll have another stimulus bill soon, and it looks like it'll include those stimulus checks. That's about all we have for the update today. I'll be making follow-up updates later in the week, so be sure to subscribe to the video if you want to stay informed. Be sure to give a like to this video if it helped you out in any way. Share it with anybody that might find it interesting. And again, remember, if you want to learn more about personal finance, be sure to check out my other videos. If you need a good checking account, be sure to check out SoFi Money. I have a link in the description below. It's an account I use all the time. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much.